Narrated by Abu Masud al-Ansari. There was an Ansari man nicknamed Abu Shu'aib, who had a slave who was a butcher. He came to the Prophet peace be upon him while he was sitting with his companions and noticed the signs of hunger on the face of the Prophet peace be upon him. So he went to his butcher slave and said, "Prepare for me a meal sufficient for 5 persons so that I may invite the Prophet peace be upon him along with 4 other men." He had the meal prepared for him and invited him. A 6th man followed them. The Prophet peace be upon him said, "O Abu Shu'aib, another man has followed us. If you wish, you may invite him, and if you wish, you may refuse him." Abu Shu'aib said, "No, I will admit him." Narrated by Amr bin Umayyah. That he saw Allah's Messenger peace be upon him cutting a piece of mutton from its shoulder part he was carrying in his hand. When he was called for prayer, he put it down and the knife with which he was cutting it. Then he stood up and offered the prayer without performing new ablution. Narrated by Anas bin Malik. The Prophet peace be upon him said, "If supper is served, and the iqamah for Isha prayer is proclaimed, start with you supper first." Narrated by Nafi. Once Ibn Umar was taking his supper while he was listening to the recitation of Quran by the Imam in the Isha prayer. Narrated by Aisha. The Prophet peace be upon him said, "If the iqamah for Isha prayer is proclaimed and supper is served, take your supper first." Narrated by Anas. I know about the hijab, the order of veiling of women, more than anybody else. Ubay bin Ka'b used to ask me about it. Allah's Messenger peace be upon him became the bridegroom of Zainab bint Yashir whom he married at Medina. After the sun had risen high in the sky, the Prophet peace be upon him invited the people to a meal. Allah's apostle remained sitting and some people remained sitting with him after the other guests had left. Then Allah's Messenger peace be upon him got up and went away, and I too followed him till he reached the door of Aisha's room. Then he thought that the people must have left the place by then, so he returned and I also returned with him. Behold, the people were still sitting at their places. So he went back again for the second time, and I went along with him too. When we reached the door of Aisha's room, he returned and I also returned with him to see that the people had left. Thereupon the Prophet peace be upon him hung a curtain between me and him and the verse regarding the order for veiling of women, means hijab was revealed.